that's where I feel like the styling comes in.
Yeah.
So, not feeling like you need to be this carbon copy of a trend, but you can do
Hmm.
it in your own way. And so that was what we did. I also just finished teaching a week-long kind of interim course at my school about upcycling. And so for the week, I had a couple of students we started the week asking them to bring in clothing that they didn't wear anymore, that they were going to
Okay.
donate. And
Wow.
then we taught them a few things. They learned some practical skills like sewing, but we also talked to them about kind of the environmental consequence of fashion, and then had them just sort of look for ways that they could see their clothing in new light, right?
Hmm.
Style things in different ways, and get them
Right.
to see ways they could extend the life of their clothing, and
Yeah.
just move away from seeing things as disposable but
Right.
reusable. For me, I think that's what I like the most is the creative challenge of wearing something different way. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, people often say to me, Nurbaya, how big is your wardrobe? How many clothes do you have? And I'm like, ooh, that makes me feel bad. And, I had to downsize when I moved into this apartment six
Right.
months ago.
Okay.
And I did. I will say I had a pretty large closet. My husband kind of let me take over, and I had things in my kids' rooms that but that said, I also looked for ways that I could rewear things. And that's what I notice is that some people feel like, oh, I know how to wear this and I'll wear it this way every time. I try when I look in my wardrobe to look for a way to wear something that I didn't wear it the last time, to restyle it. And
Oh.
that for me is even looking at like, all right, here is a shirt. Can I wear it
Hmm.
as a belt? Can I wear it as a skirt? Can I, what can I do to make
Right.
it something different? And that's such a creative challenge. So it's fun. It's fun to do it that way.
Exactly. I'm actually curious to know how was the reaction of the people when you started that challenge with the other influencer?
It was, I think it was really how I began to build the community that I have on Instagram now. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of them came from that challenge because I'd
Mm-hmm.
been on Instagram and I had a smaller kind of community. And then when we started hosting this challenge,
Yeah.
for a week, we would be resharing people's looks, how they styled certain trends, and they used that hashtag on Instagram. And
Yeah.
it really took off. It really took off. And it was like people were, I think partly because it was also COVID, and so we were all stuck at home for a time and looking for things to do to find community when we
Mm.
could actually be in person with our communities. And so I think that had a
Right.
lot to do with it too. But I still now have many of those people that I scroll through their feeds daily, and they're still doing a lot of things like that. So we stopped hosting that challenge just because life, when we opened back up again, got busy. But it's still in people's mindsets.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. So, and I see similar things having kind of sparked in the way
Of
other
course,
people
I mean,
do things.
the content that you made and the work that you're still doing, and of course the styles that you're making, repurposing, it's just awesome. I mean, if a person have full, closet with clothes, they can
Right.
just repurpose. Sometimes you just have to have fun with the clothes and how you can, attach like a purple t-shirt with yellow skirt, or vice versa, or whatever, how it is. And such unique beautiful colors, you just have
Mhm.
to make some fun outfits and repurpose those, or
Yeah.
you can do
We
some
found, yes, we
vintage
found that
stuff.
that by actually, early COVID was a time where it wasn't just our challenge, but it was a lot of people were hosting clothing challenges.
Yeah.
Um, and it was really kind of a fun way to think about putting outfits together, So people had character type clothing challenges. I remember one of the influencers who hosted a Clue clothing challenge, and every day of the week you had to think of a different character. How would I interpret Miss Scarlet with my clothing? Outfit that I would actually wear. That's not a costume. So
Yeah.
people were really creative and thinking about how they could get more use out of their clothes.
Right.
And I still see that, but less so, right? Because we're very busy
Mhm.
in our day-to-day lives. But I do,
Right.
when I think of clothing challenges, it throws me right back to like 2020, 2021, 2022, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the time. Okay, Norbea, so our next segment is rapid fire. I got a few questions for you.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one. One word your wardrobe would say about you.
Ooh, eclectic?
You said neglective?
Eclectic.
Oh, eclectic. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does that mean?
Just not mainstream. I feel I feel like my
Oh,
or colorful. That's another one. We're
okay,
all
yeah. Yeah, it reflects actually.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right.
So my style is feels like it's kind of quirky, but it's mine. Yeah.
As long as you feel comfortable wearing
Yeah.
that, that's the thing matters the most. You just don't have to follow any other influencer online and buy what they say you have to buy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Next question. Vintage or new?
Vintage.
Vintage. Okay.
The quality is
Uh,
better.
that one piece you will never get rid of.
Ooh, that's really hard because I keep my clothing a long time and
Hmm.
but then when I'm done with it, I cycle it through. So I
Okay.
don't have like the one thing that I'll never get rid of. I suppose I have a vintage fur that I found and I found it at a Salvation Army. Actually, it was one of two that I purchased.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about those two fur coats is that they came from a I bought them in my husband's hometown, and they
Hmm.
came from a local furrier who they used to have a fur store. It was a very kind of luxe thing. And it closed down, and the building is still there, and even the store is still there, and I kind of followed it up. But the inside the label is the name of that local fur shop, LaSalle Furs, and it also has
Oh, that was
embroidered
locally made.
yeah, it came
Oh,
from
wow.
yes, or
That's
maybe not
cool.
locally produced, but sold. And it had the two coats had sisters' names in like embroidered in them. You know, it was a service that you could have done at the time was have your name embroidered in. And so I did
Okay.
a little bit of digging around and I followed up their stories. And the amazing thing was that I wrote this like blog article about these two fur coats, and I'd given one to my friend who then moved to London,
Okay.
and I kept one myself. And when I published that story, I had imagined, well, actually, no. You know, the fur coat that I gave to her belonged to the
Hmm.
sister who joined. I think she was in the Marines or she was in some part of the armed services. But anyway, she did
Okay.
travel, and the
Hmm.
sister stayed behind and helped with the family business, which was like a local grocery business.
Oh,
And so I
wow.
envisioned this story, which sort of fit my friend and I when she was moving away. And then the amazing thing was that the grandson of the person who sold those coats found
Mm.
the story on my blog and reached out to me.
Oh,
Yeah, it was,
wow.
and then sent me pictures of his grandfather. And then his father, so the person who sold it, his son, also
Mhm.
connected me to some of the family history and stuff like that. So that was pretty amazing. I will never get rid of that coat.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
And did you write another blog after that of it?
I did. I think I wrote a follow-up about
Okay.